Hey everybody, welcome back with the BAM. We're gonna start this week off with a couple with our usual 360 takeoff, and then we're gonna go through our three products of this week. So ready? I'll start the topic first one. So the first one, JetBlue boosts their takeover bid ahead of the shareholder vote. So essentially, what are your thoughts, Matthews, of JetBlue buying Spirit for $3.4 billion?
Which airline was they buying?
Spirit.
Spirit. Oh, I don't know. I haven't really looked at the numbers numbers. Oh, there you go. I can see that come out. I wonder what the multiples of EBITDA that they used to.
2 paragraphs. Response.
Oh. I think it'll be interesting, especially for domestic, since it is mostly domestic anyway. So I think it's probably pretty good time to buy, since it can only go up, hopefully, granted the COVID reset.
Adam?
Cheaper flights for everyone because they're consolidating the resources. Period.
Lower overhead.
Yeah, I love it too. You know why? Because I love cheap flights, but hopefully the services get better. That's my only point of view.
Not on Spirit Airlines, come on.
Adam, all right, your turn, Adam.
Musk is having cold feet with the buyout for Twitter. My thoughts is that essentially, he's just distracting, like focus on the actual thing that he's doing about his company. There's an underlying Tesla issues that he's trying to hide.
Matthews, what do you think?
I think this is a purely negotiating tactic. He wants to bring down the per share price. I don't know, and then maybe by a $10 billion. And if he loses $1 billion as a fine from the SEC, he still gets to save $9 billion in his negotiating. I think it's purely negotiating tactic. He would still go ahead and buy Twitter.
He bought it at 40, I think.
Yeah, he bought it $40
Yeah,
a share.
Well, he agreed to
at
buy it. It
39.
still didn't go through though.
Right, but
What's that price
yeah.
though?
He would save 39 billion.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this. I've been kind of paying attention to a little bit closer as I watched some podcasts, and they introduced him on one of the podcasts. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he wants to understand the Twitter's algorithm a little bit more. So I don't know. This could be just white noise, but in my point of view, I think he just wants to understand the business a little bit more to really, like, for sure, hammer the hammer.
All right, Matthews. Less than 2
Go for it,
minutes.
Matthews.
So speaking of current topics, Top Gun.
Is it the lawsuit? Is it the lawsuit?
The lawsuit, man, I thought it was interesting. Share it. There we go.
Yeah.
So Paramount is getting sued for releasing Top Gun without a license, without copyright license, and it's by the original author. And he's saying they went ahead and released it and without the copyright license, and they're arguing that this is completely new product, and he's saying it's a derivative of the original book that he released, which the movie was based on.
What is your thoughts?
I support creative rewards for creativity, and this was definitely based on his idea. So I say he's earned it. He should be given a cut.
I'll take this part now. I don't know anything of this. It's the first time hearing it out of the blue. I don't really care for Top Gun myself. All I care about is the
You haven't seen
aviator
it.
glasses.
You
That's
I
haven't seen it.
controversial.
I have
It's
a big bias by her. It's the #1 grossing movie And if
Until Thor.
they did not do their due diligence on their copyright, then shame on them.
All right. So 30 seconds. I guess I have the last remarks. Money. They basically got like more 180 million, and then I think the authors were like, you know what? Give me some of that cash.
Yeah, at least I don't know, a few points percent of the percent, and 0.25.
And
Something.
I'm for
Something.
giving them something.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right, that's the timer.
Is it?
Yeah,
Uh,
that was fast, wasn't it?
that was very fast. I still had more to
Yeah.
go, but yeah.
Oh man. Next time.
Next time.
All right, let's start with 3 topics.
This reminds me of when the Cleveland Browns interviewed Condoleezza Rice, or at least they said they were considering interviewing Condoleezza Rice for the role of Cleveland Browns coach. She has never coached any NFL team. She was a Secretary of State, and she was just a huge football fan. And they wanted to say, we can't get any lower in our basically filling of the coach, the role of the coach. They had, I think, 4 coaches in less than 2 seasons at the time. And I thought it was just hilarious. But apparently later came out that they, a lot of the NFL team owners interview people, as the lawsuit recently revealed, just to fulfill that kind of, hey, we have interviewed people of color kind of quota. And I kind of just had a little laugh there when I saw this headline, because I recalled that article back to my memory. Anyway, we can skip this one.
No, because like it goes through work culture, right? And we're all brought up, right? Us 3 specifically. We don't have connections, and if we do, it's very slim, right? Slim to a point where it doesn't make an absolute difference. So we're basically on our own from here on out, right? And we pave our own way. And so from that perspective, because of that, it's like how should I say this? Like, we don't know the individual that's already there that could guide us, can mentor us, could help us to actually get the position, right? And having all these quotas isn't like, it's a start. It's not perfect, and there's a lot of loopholes to it, but it's something that at least it's acknowledged, is that like we have to work 5-10 times harder than a person who actually knows somebody within the whole entire structure, you know.
Yeah,
like
100%, 100%.
B.
I like that pivot. I think for this particular one, I think I don't have really much thoughts about this. If it seems like it's a repeat of the NFL, really, how they kind of dealt with their hiring of the head coaches, or potentially execs as well. But it just shows you that there are things that, you know, the D&I, their diversity and inclusion teams for all kind of corporations will need kind of have to identify for themselves, to kind of look into and kind of and reflect and see how they can improve the hiring process for all walks of life. So that's what it really is at the end of the day. It's to improve that process, so there's a fair amount for all walks of life. Yeah. All right, we're gonna change gears a little bit now. That one was a little controversial, but we're gonna go to this quick one, NFL. So this NFL one, my topic of this week. Oh, wrong one. This is the wrong one. No, this is the right one. What? This is weird. I have the best one. Well, anyways, sorry about that. So Walmart, the heir of Walmart, Rob Walton, is expected to purchase the Broncos for $4.5 billion. Back in 2018, not 2018. Back in 2018, yes. the Carolina Panthers was bought for $2.275 billion. So after 4 years, the value of a football team has doubled. And as you see with the build at 4.5 compared to 2.2. What are you guys' thoughts on seeing how the growth of NFL football will be in like 5-10 years from now? Are there going to be $10 billion entities, and should they be like for profit or nonprofit? Because right now they're nonprofit organizations because of some of their lobbying that they did with the government and with the way that they kind of pay for, hey, we're gonna do stuff for the veterans, so there's like a paid program for that as well, so they can kind of underwrite that, so then they don't get fees for like a public entity. So thoughts on that kind of way, Matthews?
Did you just mention that they're nonprofit at the moment?
They're nonprofit. All NFL teams are nonprofit. They're for the
Oh.
community.
I think there should be definitely be for profit because they make billions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for the owners in revenue each year, and they get to keep the earnings, and their only connection to nonprofit is just very tiny link to said subgroups, like, I don't know, veterans or their minor donations to whatever foundations. I think there should be for profit and get taxed accordingly. And I think the NFL growth prospect is, I don't know, very slim. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm not a huge NFL person.
That's very interesting because if you think about it,
yeah.
their teams are more expensive than any other sport teams.
Mhm.
Do you think, like,
Mhm.
for example, like European soccer leagues, they're not valued as much as NFL football, right? But then internationally, it's a bigger sport internationally. But market wise, like you don't see the value of NFL team being more than that in the future.
I don't, unfortunately, because even within the US, yeah, the domestic population of the US is becoming more and more diverse, and the entertainment choice people have is a lot more segmented. And in place of NFL, other sports are growing, specifically soccer, and even cities that did not have major league soccer teams are getting one now. And even some cities are getting two and even three. And
Question
they
for you,
has to
Matthews.
now. So yeah.
So
Hey,
Major League. Go ahead, Adam.
They gave up their 501c status in 2015.
Oh, they did?
Since
Yeah.
when?
Oh,
Really?
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah. Well, what one article state is the reason why, and I was laughing in the background. The reasons why they gave it away was because they no longer would have to disclose the income of the NFL commissioner.
Oh,
And then
that's
the other one
interesting.
was that that Congress could no longer hold it on top of their heads for unrelated issues.
That's funny. So that's
Yeah.
basically Roger Goodell's doing, basically, is what it is.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Thanks for the correction. My apologies.
No,
But
so,
that's a good story though, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
like there's a lot of benefits in going for profit. But
yeah.
in this case, for them, it's more selfishness.
Yeah, like, I look into this article I saw, right? They mentioned that by relinquishing the tax exempt status, it only costs the NFL like 10 million. That's pocket change.
Yeah.
For filing. Come on, man.
Yeah. So I think the growth prospect for NFL, even their player pool is decreasing because parents are not letting their kids play. And and the ones that are playing are extremely highly motivated ones, which is kind of positive, but at the same time, this is still lower player pool that you have, and other major entertainments sports are growing in this place, and in the place of football.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it is limited, but yeah, it's still going to be one of the major sports, but it's not the major sport. It will not be the major sport.
Interesting.
What
I'll challenge that, but
Um,
Adam, go ahead.
that's my view.
I,
It's an
I think
opinion.
I think this is a major headway towards their expansion towards Europe, because I think the nonprofit status is essentially what kind of curbed them, because they had to follow these special rules and all that jazz. And like the fact of like all this historical prices of them like paying more, like as an all-time highs, non-QB, whatever, yada yada, right? Like because it's a for-profit status, they don't have to relinquish majority of the profits. So like a lot of room in terms of like the NFL cap will definitely increase over time. And because a lot of these teams' budgets are based upon the distribution of the NFL in general. So because they have a lot of, like subscription model within the NFL network and all these ticket items and all that jazz, sponsorships and whatever, they're pulling their money together for higher distributions of paying their players an appropriate amount. Like, and I think ultimately that's a good thing from that perspective. But looking at it from like a person who subscribes to an NFL Game Pass, you might see like a higher cost premium just so they could have any money left over to expand to England.
Yeah, and I don't know how well they will be received since there's already a reigning sports kingdom over there, primarily soccer, and even in the U.S., the fastest growing population is Latino American, Hispanic, and followed by Asian. So both of these groups are not the major American football enthusiasts, at least the immigrant portion, like the newcomers. So we'll see, is what I'm trying to say. But B, what
Yeah.
do you think?
To answer you, I think it depends right now as the viewership, our population is currently a lot of old white male for NFL viewers. So hindsight 10 years from now, that though the demographic is going to change. Other sports have come up, like the NBA, for example. Basketball is getting very popular. Soccer is picking up, but it's not going to be as popular as, for example, hockey potentially. So we have to see how that be.
What?
If-
I think it will surpass hockey for sure.
Now there's
I'm
baby steps
biased.
they have to take.
I'm definitely
They have to take
biased.
baby steps. The MLS is not the European league. That's
No,
two
it's
different
not.
leagues, man. Hey, Mr. Zidane, he tells me, hey, so he tells me the MVP of the MLS in their primes, who's better? He has 19 goals, right? But Zidane's like, where was I when it was my prime? I was in the European League. Okay, that's all I have to say. So there's levels. MLS will never hit the European levels, in my opinion. They will not be as popular as baseball. Baseball would still be better than soccer in the United States of America.
Like don't get me wrong, culture.
Probably
changes
we'll
everything,
we'll see
but-
25
Yeah.
years from now, but maybe 20 years from
But
now.
like what B was saying, like even with baseball, they're even recognizing the fact that like they're growing less than compared to soccer, because like they're getting bigger bases just so they can steal bases and make the game a lot more fun. That was one of the like regulatory changes that they made in the recent year. And if all these sports companies know that there's competing substitution, it's like I don't know, like internally, culture in America needs to like a little change in the way towards it.
I think it's about just products out there, and there's diversity in products. People had less choice in the past. Now there's numerous entertainment options you have, And
Like pool and both.
Well, I gotta call you out, Matthews.
so yeah.
You have a big bias against soccer. So I don't know, man. I'm neutral. I'm actually pretty neutral. I love soccer. I love every sport, but I think you have a bias.
No, I do. And I already admitted
Exactly.
to that.
That's what I thought. All right, let's move on, Adam. I got to give you the time for your
But we
topic.
ran out of time.
Did we? Oh my
We did.
goodness.
We did. It's okay. I can tackle mine later because I'm pretty sure, knowing Musk.
All right, so that ends our topic of the weeks of this week. We're gonna end off with some closing remarks. Matthews, the Prince of Ethiopia.
A lot of people would fight for that title, so I won't claim it.
Good.
But,
Even the current prime minister.
I know he wants to be the king, right? So yeah. I think the future is going to be the fight over energy, and it's probably obvious, but it's never been more acute than now because of high gas prices and a lot of people being aware of it. And GM just came out saying that their Corvette is going electric starting next year, at least hybrid. So the future fight is going to be over energy and how we consume it, and not least of which because of climate change, but because of other factors in the market that are pushing that way. So this is just at least from my perspective, another indication that that's how, that's where we're headed in terms of how we're gonna get around electric vehicles and where we get our electricity, even for everything else. And I think that's where the fight is. And the existing energy companies will fight for it to keep things the same way. But the more consumers have choices, the better for everybody else.
Adam.
All I gotta say, eventually I'll do a segment on the yield curve, but currently running calculations in regards to latency. But essentially the yield curve, just a little preview, is the simplified version is a 10-year treasury maturity minus the 2-year treasury maturity rates. And that basically kind of indicates of long-term expectation from a wider market perspective. And so usually like whenever the yield curve inverted, it's a precipitation of the oncoming recession. So a lot of it it's a long leg. On averages, it's between a year and 3. I still need to figure out that number. Eventually, I'll release the video into the BAM. But currently, as it states, the yield curve did inverted on April 1st of 2022. So like when there's a lot of talks about, like economics downturn in the recent months, I don't think a lot of focuses were on the actual yield curve. So there's something inherently wrong with the economy that's trying to transfix it, whether if it's interest rates or whatever. And in this case, maybe it's inflation related, at least the lack of control, but that's something that definitely needs to be addressed.
And for my
Not
last
cheery,
thoughts,
but
in my last thoughts, I think that's a good segue to your point. So watch out for that clip. It'll be coming up this week. Adam's gonna post a really nice video and approach that. So my last thoughts for this week is that we are now seeing a little pause in the markets and how everything is moving. However, don't get too excited. I see some green here. There will be some stumbles down the way as we still are seeing inflation still hitting us in their pockets, right? As we see oil prices. That's one. But two, there's supply chain, so there's still supply issues there too. So it's not gonna be like a walk click that's gonna fix everything. It's gonna take time, probably till Q4 of this year to really see, how this is going to really resolve into. So it's right now it's kind of shaky, but it'll be there. I feel like I feel very positive for the markets, and then I feel like right now it's perfect for anyone to kind of get in and look into what you as a buyer would like to do. So that goes into all mortgages, buying houses, selling houses, and such. It's still very high, as the supply is very, very low. But yeah, so we're gonna conclude this week of the first week of June. So we're gonna have a follow up with Adam. He's gonna have a great video in the segue. So watch out for that video, and please like and subscribe to us anywhere in this video, or our boy Adam's gonna show up that subscription button. So hey, take care from us, from Bam, Matthews, and Adam. Any last words before we head out? Or if not, we're gonna see you next week.
Have a good one.
Adios.
Bye.